What's going on, YouTube? Mr. Gantz is with us today. I am very happy that he's all right. I reached out to his people. He's important. He has people to make sure he was okay, and he decided to come on the show and talk to us about it because he's just a generous guy that way. He's a very good sport. I don't have the best voice today, so I'm not going to interact with the chat as much as usual. I'm just going to ask Lior to kind of give us the rundown, man, since he's in it over there in Israel. How you doing, brother?
Doing well, and thank you for not mentioning that I'm wearing my daughter's earphones.
I was wondering, but
yeah. War is war. You gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, where do you want to pick it up? Do you have any specific questions?
My first question is, what's your day-to-day life? How's that changed given what's going on over there, and how close are you to any of the dangerous situations?
So the war started when Hamas, which is a terrorist organization that was formed in the early 60s, first of all as a grassroots movement that doesn't do anything with terror. The first stage of any terrorist group that the radical Islam builds is based on a grassroots movement that is, first of all, social, and it's trying to spread dawah. Dawah means the word, spread the word. And basically, at the grassroots, just like with Al-Qaeda in the United States or ISIS in Iraq and any other movement that you see, the first stage is to build mosques. The mosques are to be used as like planting flags, like we're here, and then the community comes, and that's where they preach terrorism. So that is how the radical Islam uses mosques. I'm not saying that's how all Muslim people use mosques, obviously. I'm talking about terrorist groups. So you first get funding for mosques so you can appeal to human rights organizations. You say, hey, look at all these poor children. We need to give them like table tennis and basketball courts, and you get funding from the UN, from the United States, from the EU. That's the cynical part of how the West is actually the one that funds the first 10 years or the first 20 years of a terrorist organization. And after it's built a huge popularity within the community, because they come to the mosque and then one person tells the imam, you know what, my daughter's looking for a job, he's looking for a job, then you help him out. So there's a bond that's connected. Then in 1987, it went from the social movement into a military movement. And basically Hamas as a military movement or as a terrorist organization started in 1987. And the original founder of it was in Israeli jail, then released, and then again, and then released again. And what happened on October 7th in the morning, because I'm personally in Tel Aviv, is I woke up at 6:30. Actually, my daughter ran to my room, woke me up. My two other children and my wife were already up because they wake up around 6 a.m. because these are small twins. And she tells me there's a siren and the Iron Dome is intercepting rockets. So that's how it started for me. But Tel Aviv is the home front. So for the most part, the Iron Dome intercepts most of the rockets coming in. But in the villages and areas next to Gaza, there was a whole different story going on. The rockets were just a diversion from a massive infiltration of very coordinated, very sophisticated, exploiting all of the weak points of the technology that Israel built to safeguard the border. And they they committed atrocities against humanity, the likes of which we've seen just from ISIS in recent memory. So that's how it started for me. Since then, the first few hours, it was bad. It was bad. Uh, and by 6 p.m. Israel time, Biden realized that this is not a normal situation. Um, and then uh, and then Biden turned the biggest aircraft carrier in the world around and sent it to the Middle East. That was a pivotal like line in the sand to make sure that this doesn't escalate. And from that point, that was the bottom. If you want to talk markets, that was like Powell coming in and slashing interest rates to zero and saying we'll buy all the junk bonds, we'll save the economy. Um, if you want to kind of have it in the analogy to the March 2020 Corona panic. And from that point on, that was the bottom. From that point on, we obviously have been in a different movie. In the first week, because in the Jewish tradition, first of all, you bury and then you sit 7 days in the morning. The first 7 days between October 7th and October 14th, they were traumatic for the entire country. For a country like ours, which is 3% the size of the United States, 1,400 dead is like 40,000 people dying in the United States. So just think about that, and not just dying, like home to home, coming in, you just kill people, kill children, babies, you torch the house. It's not like a regular thing. It's something you don't see in modern civilizations. You see it 500 years ago with the Crusaders or something, or with ISIS. So that first week was awful. And now, at least here in the home front, you're dealing with three things. You're dealing with how, as a civilian, you can contribute. Some people contribute with their wallet, some people with their time. So, they go and support anything that they can do. And we support the general economy by staying, employed, and because it's a very costly war. So those are the three things you deal with at the home front. And now the children are going back to school, etc. But it is 100% war, and it's going to be a long one.
Well, I'm sorry that you guys are going through that. First of all, for Biden to realize anything, that tells anyone the severity of the situation, because that guy eats ice cream and doesn't know what flavor it is. So that in itself to me was really significant.
Have you ever seen the movie Things to Do in Denver Before I Die?
No, but I've never heard of it. But tell me.
It's a 1995 movie with Andy Garcia. Andy Garcia is he played the hotel boss in Ocean's 11, the guy they rob.
Oh, okay, yeah.
With the hair back. So in that movie, he plays a small-time mobster, and he needs to do a job for a big-time boss. The big-time boss is this very old mob boss, ruthless mobster, and he's on a wheelchair, and the wheelchair actually motors by the old man blowing air into a tube. So that's how it moves forward. It's like very sadistic type situation. He's played by Christopher Walken, one of the great movie actors, and that's Biden. He's a very ruthless old gentleman, but don't think he's a stuttering little guy, because he's not. He knows exactly. He knows the big picture, and even though he is old and physically and mentally fatigued, I wouldn't bet against his judgment in terms of big world affairs, and I know the good and the bad, so that's why I compared him to specifically that character. And if you watch the movie, you'll understand more. But I want to say if any of the things revolving his other predicaments don't pan out, he will probably win the elections. If he doesn't get in trouble for everything that you see in the news, he will win the 2024 elections, and you will have him for another 4 years.
I
So
agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I think he will win the 2024 selection because of
okay,
what happened in 2020. I have no doubt in my mind. I'm not happy about it, but I agree with you.
okay, well, okay. So I'm sorry I cut you out. You want to finish?
No, I was just listening to what you said about the election, and I agree with you. I think there's a lot of delusion out there thinking that that's not going to be the case, and I think that will 100% be the case. I agree with you.
Okay, that's good.
I hear sirens, man. What's going on? What'd you do, Lior?
No, it's just an ambulance. Don't worry.
Okay, well, I'm worried, man. I'm worried about what's going on over there. Okay, so let me
If
ask you this. Okay,
just so you know, if it's an Iron Dome siren, it sounds differently. So they changed the ambulance siren 3 weeks ago, so people can separate the two and don't just uh, confuse themselves. Because if it is an Iron Dome siren, then I would need to go into a different room in my house, which is a fortified room. The wall is thicker and it has a steel door, and you lock it, and that's where you're protected from a rocket. If a rocket comes in, it will ruin the apartment, but that room will stay safe.
damn, you're a badass.
Well, it's a statistical uh, um, rocket. So in other words, it's not GPS or anything or location. Uh, so just so we're on, where that's a war crime. Shooting at civilians, statistical ballistic weapons is a war crime.
Oh, sure,
You're basically shooting at a city.
sure. By the way, Sorcerer Stan, Tiger, Thule, thank you for the super chats. I appreciate y'all. So let me ask you this: Why do you
Ask me the
think?
hard questions.
Why do you think the world is so misguided that we have all these woke college kids siding with Gaza, and why do you think they're unable to understand what's really been going on over the centuries? I mean, Israeli people have been fighting for centuries, defending themselves, and it's atrocious.
Jewish people.
Well, yes, and it's atrocious, and they've been so persecuted. Why do you think these people are unable to see that obvious truth?
Okay. Okay. So I think that the left in general, as a way of life, is based on hatred. That's the basic premise to understand, is that the left is based on hatred. All leftist agendas, extreme left, is based 100% on the idea that there is an oppressed and an oppressor, and in the name of the oppressed, anything is legitimate. So, in the name of equality, we will murder anything that we want. Case in point: Stalin, Mao Zedong, um, uh, you know, President Xi, with everything that is obviously censored over there, and what they are doing to minorities. I'm sure you probably know what they do to minorities over there. Latin American countries, any left agenda, and the radical Islam is not a left agenda. It's very important to understand. They're not liberals. They're not woke. They are fighting a religious war. What does that mean? It means that in 1924, and I'm going to take you a little back, but I'm sure that any person in the audience that's listening to this and took the time would rather have a full answer than an elevator pitch. Um, it, since Muhammad the Prophet started preaching in the 6th century, he started killing and butchering and beheading. Beheadings are the trademark of radical Islam's, not in the 20th century, not in the 21st century, but since the 6th century. That is the way that they have operated. Even way before there was atomic weapons and any weapons, they, with a sword and a big like knife, like you see in all the Arab movies, um, they killed 270 million people. 270 million people with beheadings. Okay, so let's just get our facts straight about who we're talking about. Now, the Ottoman Empire, which was the largest Muslim empire and bigger than Rome, spread throughout the world. And because they're a polygamic society, they also took Christian women and Jewish women, raped them, had children with them, and that's how they got to be 1.8 billion people in 14 centuries. So on 9/11, 1683, the Crusaders and the Poles united forces, and at the gates of Vienna, they stopped the Ottoman Empire from spreading anymore. So 9/11, if you ask yourself why that is a very important date in Muslim culture, it is the date that the enlightened world united to stop the spread of Islam. Okay? And that's why Al Qaeda attacked on 9/11 specifically. That is the significance of that date. Ever since 9/11, 1683, the Ottoman Empire, because it couldn't steal and expand anymore, it got weak and weaker and weaker until World War I, where they sided with the wrong European allies and lost the war. So in 1924, the French and the British divvied up the areas controlled by the Ottoman Empire, and they forced Turkey to have a democratic election, which was, I would say, the lowest point in Islam's history since inception. Apart from the day that the democratic vote actually went through and they actually installed democratic government, that was a bigger dagger in the heart. And then they started to allow nightclubs, drinking alcohol. Women could stop wearing those full body suits, and it spread into Egypt and Lebanon and Beirut was called the Paris of the Middle East. People used to come from in the 60s to Beirut to have fun. It was a very cultural city. So that to Islam is like the day that the Western NATO forces reached Putin's KGB station in East Germany and forced them to surrender. And he called Moscow, and Moscow said, "We have nothing, there's nothing we can do. We're losing." It's the same type of hurt. It's a life-altering feeling of pain, of defeat. And so just like Putin from that created his entire hatred of the West and his grand vision of restoring USSR, so does radical Islam say that they want the Halifats back. The Halifats are ethnic cleansing of everything that is an infidel, and everything that is an infidel is anyone that's not a Muslim. And the way you do it is you take everything. There's no coexistence. It's everything. So there's no settling. It's a war. It's a religious war. So the word jihad means a warrior for religious reason, or basically no compromise. So that is really important to understand. And the reason that that type of agenda or train of thought resonates with left or woke people or liberals is because they too are filled with hate towards any sort of oppression. If you look at how confused these people are, because they have nothing in life except hatred, so they cheer for gay rights, they cheer for women's rights, they cheer for the climate, and they cheer for refugees in the same protest, even though any gay person knows that if he moves to any Muslim country, it's like chicken for KFC. It's
Yep.
not gonna. It's not. It's a one-way ticket. But they don't see that. All they view the world is through the lens of oppressed and oppressor. That's why they allow themselves to go into Louis Vuitton stores and just take everything and leave and rob the place.
And they support feminism, but they also support men claiming to be women and dominating women's sports, which is completely against women's rights. They are very confused people.
Correct.
You're not wrong.
The whole premise is that they don't have a compass. They don't have any bearing, and so all they have is this urge to hate and to preach. It basically comes down to that, and it's fueled by George Soros and people like him that understand that they can fund these organizations and just create more chaos and destroy.
Yep.
And the just so you understand, the radical Muslims, they respect Trump. They respect people that have a sense of justice and what they want. They despise those people that protest for them. They despise them. They're everything that they think is wrong with the world. So that's the irony.
And Middle Eastern governments would rather have Trump in office than Biden, and there's a reason for that. And they've openly said that. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, all of them except Iran.
Well, yes. And that, my friends, right there is why I don't have one liberal friend, because if a liberal can't understand that they support the greater good, or the greater evil, excuse me, with how they vote, not saying the right is perfect, we're not, but I cannot have that in my life. Now, you asked me to ask you the hard question.
And let me just clarify. When I say left, I mean hard, like extreme left. The moderate left is very nice. It's about human rights and about liberty, and it's all good. Just like the moderate right is about conservatism. Close the border. You can't allow anyone in. We have our pride as a nationality. We have our values. We're not multiculturalism. We can't have just anybody come into the United States. They have to have something in common with us. So I just want to make sure that I don't confuse anyone. And the same thing about Muslims. There are many Muslims that do not subscribe to the jihadist agenda. They love their children more than they hate infidels, or whatever you want to call it. They don't subscribe to this idea that was supposed to die centuries ago. So it's just important that I clarify that, because that is 100% factual.
I agree with you 100%. Extremism on either end of the spectrum is bad. It never goes to a good place. My issue with the moderate left is that their support of a party in any way, shape, or form, their affiliation, if you will, makes me sick. Because
I understand.
They should see what's going on. They should see what's going on and be so disgusted that it moves them to the Libertarian Party or the right.
Well, that's the swing. Those are the swing voters that you're fighting for in every election. Those are the people that, depending on the times, can either support a little bit more to the left or a little bit more to the right.
Yep, but at some point, someone has to wake up and say, these people are doing something I completely don't support. I cannot play a part in that, and that's where I'm disappointed in the common left. Liberal, they can't see that. That's very disappointing to me.
Well, that's why you have a constitution, and if it was upheld, if it was respected, if it was honored, then you wouldn't have to even talk about these things, because they will be written in one of the greatest documentations that men have ever written.
You're absolutely right. One thing I want to say before I forget, I am in YouTube jail again, so I cannot comment on anyone's video, so that doesn't mean I'm not watching you. I got locked up for Zuki Play. He did a video. He was testing metals and his phone rang in the background, and I left a comment that said, "Nice work. You have a call." And because I said call, YouTube thought I was trying to spam him. So I am locked up for about another 18 hours. So, or no,
Oh.
20 hours, 23 hours. So don't be offended, or no, 12 hours, excuse me. So don't be offended if I'm not commenting on your videos, folks. I am watching. I just can't tell you. The bot on YouTube is ridiculous. All right, hard questions. You ready? You wanted a hard question.
Hard question because I have 2 more minutes, 3 more minutes.
Okay. What's this going to do for metals and oil prices? Go.
Okay, so let's talk metals first. I think that this war will do very little for metals either way. So let's talk about what will really be important for metals. Um, what we've seen in the last week with the FOMC meeting on Wednesday and then Friday, just yesterday, with the jobs report, is that the economy has found a better equilibrium in terms of the jobs market. So this open border policy plus the end of stimulus for many people that have been living on stimulus for 3 years, COVID stimulus, that is, plus the student loan forgiveness, all of these force people to go back to work. And so the jobs market is looking much nicer. And if anything, it's tilting a little bit towards more of a recession than a boom time. So for the Fed, it's done. It's not going to raise rates anymore. And the risk even becomes bigger to the downside, that we continue to see weakness from the consumer or weakness on spending. And so the odds have changed now from tightening to easing. And that's really good for gold. But I don't think that gold is going to rally big. I do think that it's going to appreciate nicely. From here, it's going to an all-time high, as I said before. It's very close to it, and it will reach an all-time high. Certainly by June, you will see an all-time high. But the real money is going to be in the mining companies, because inflation is now not a bad word. It's part of the transition that the United States is going through. The government's going to keep spending a lot, and we are going to double our industrial base in the United States in the next 5 years. That's going to be very inflationary as we deglobalize from our dependency on China. And all I can say is, if you're not already researching mining stocks, you're giving up on 100% of gains that are going to be in the next few years. Regarding oil, personally, I think it's not going to be like a drastic bull market in any shape or form. America has a lot of oil, and it's going to come online, have a lot of natural gas, and the shale revolution has really made America not even needing to import anymore, and it's very cheap oil and natural gas that America has. So, in my opinion, oil price is going to stay pretty much steady.
You know, you're not wrong about mining stocks. I looked at my portfolio, and I have a lot of them. I have, ones from junior miners to, bigger stocks, and they have been kicking ass. And I have been buying a lot of stocks because it's on an upward trend.
Well, just so you know,
you're not wrong.
I believe that Friday, so yesterday, was the start of the bull market. So
I agree with you.
This interview is on day 2 of a multi-year bull market.
I agree with you. There's a lot of money to be made, a lot of profits to be made, and I see that trend. I know you got to go. Thank you so much for coming by, Lior. You are a good, a good sport as always. I can't project that there would be anything, but if there's anything you need, have Christine or Tasha let me know if there's anything I can do for you, because
Sure.
you're a hell of a great sport, man. And
sure. On screen, by the way, next to my name, if you see that link, wealthresearchgroup.com/how. A lot of people have been asking, how were Hamas able to go past your incredible intelligence and technology? And I've seen even conspiracy theories that are as stupid as they are childish. But in this report, I really took the time to explain how the hell we got this so wrong.
And by the way, I love those lavender colored headphones. You should wear those next time.
Sure will. Okay.
All right, brother.
Okay.
Take care of you. Take
Shalom.
care of your family. You rock, and stay in touch. And I keep you in my prayers and your
Thank you
family.
very much. Shalom.
Keep stacking. Thanks,
Keep
Lior.
staying. Bye.